I think it all started with that Jets game. Things just started going downhill from there. I didn't feel very good when I did the live stream, and today it finally caught up to me. What is up, those Mafia? We have 96 days to go until the Buffalo Bills win Super Bowl 57. This channel is going to document every single day leading up to that amazing moment with a video, as long as I survive. I gotta jam out a video real quick, even though I have like 102 temperature. I think it all started with that Jets game. Things just started going downhill from there. I didn't feel very good when I did the live stream, and today it finally caught up to me. Yeah, and I guess, the topic of the day is medical news, right? Everybody's checking out to find out if they can figure out if Josh Allen is injured from that game. His elbow torqued back the way it was, didn't look good. But seems like news is promising overall. I'm going to the game on Sunday, and I hope we get to see Josh Allen with my kid. If not, I'm going to be saying Case Keenum. Either way, it's going to be fun. But I did watch an encouraging video on it, and I wanted to share that with you tonight. That's what my video is going to be. It's this one particular doctor. You know him, you've seen him, you've probably already watched this video. But to me, it gives me the most hope that Josh is just fine and he'll be playing on Sunday. Check it out.
The concern for Allen is an injury to his UCL, or ulnar collateral ligament, and the nearby nerves. There were two factors here that could explain these injuries. The first is that Allen's elbow gets forced backwards into a position that's beyond what it would normally go to with one of his throws. It's a combination of excessive external rotation of his shoulder with his arm going backwards, but then also increased valgus load on his elbow. Valgus load of the elbow is going to be when you bend it out this way. So the motion of a thrower, a pitcher, a javelin thrower. And so the Jets defender coming in here does number one, pushes that elbow back into an excessive position beyond what it would normally go to with his throw. The second thing it does is now when Allen tries to throw forward, because there's basically someone's arm there, it puts additional strain on his elbow because he's trying to throw against a defender's arm. Sometimes we see just the latter, where there's no excessive motion initially, but then they go to throw and they're throwing against resistance, and that tears these structures. So combination of two things here certainly could explain that injury. Looking at our biodigital anatomy tool here, the first layer to talk about on the inside of the elbow are the muscles. Now on the inside, or the ulnar side of the elbow over here, are going to be the flexor muscles. These are muscles that originate up on a bone called the medial epicondyle on the inside of your humerus, and then run all the way down for tendons that insert on your hand and wrist. To grip things, flex your fingers, flex your wrist. So when you flex your wrist, it's the muscles up here in your elbow that are actually contracting. These throws can injure these tendons of those flexor muscles. So that's one item on the differential with an injury like this. If we hide all of these muscles, then beneath that, we'll start to see that ligament, the ulnar collateral ligament. Now, of course, we hear about this mostly in baseball pitchers because they just have a much higher load that they subject their elbow to. But throwing athletes like quarterbacks can also have these injuries. There's three bundles of the UCL ligament. There's an anterior bundle right here, which is the one that's most commonly torn because it's the primary restraint to that valgus load. Then in the back, we have the posterior bundle, and then we have an oblique or a transverse bundle. These three are very rarely injured. It's most often this anterior bundle. The other thing you'll notice here is this big yellow thing going through this area, and that's the nerve. It's the ulnar nerve, and it runs right here through this medial portion of the elbow. And you might think of it as your funny bone nerve. It's that nerve, if you bang the inside of your elbow on the table, makes your hand feel all tingly. That's the nerve that can become irritated in throwers. Sometimes it becomes irritated because it actually snaps out of place and rubs over this bony prominence. And some people, this does it naturally. When you bend and flex your elbow, you might feel a snapping or a popping. That might be your nerve naturally snapping over that bone. So certainly if someone like Josh Allen gets their elbow in a position where that nerve maybe subluxes or pops out, that could cause pain in your elbow and this shooting sensation down into your hands. So really three different structures in this area, the muscle and tendon, the underlying UCL ligament, and the nerve, that can all become injured from a similar type of mechanism. With Allen, it all depends on, number one, which of those structures are involved, and number two, the extent. If this is just nerve irritation, I really wouldn't expect him to miss much time at all. That typically calms down really quickly. And if it's only happening because of that awkward position his elbow is in, shouldn't continue to happen more and more. If it's a partial strain of the muscle, I also wouldn't expect him to be out very long. It's really the ligament injury where you might expect a longer absence. Of course, Allen missed 4 games, I believe, a number of years ago when he sustained a partial injury of the same ligament, and that's sort of the time frame I would expect to see if this was a partial to moderate type of tear. Good learning point here, we'll hear about MRIs being done in this case, but an ultrasound is actually, I would argue, more helpful because number one, it's going to let you look at the nerve in much better detail. It lets you dynamically move the elbow and see what the nerve is doing. And it also, I think, can be better to help pick up partial tears of that UCL ligament. And also you can stress the ligament. You can stress the elbow and see how much that ligament moves, which gives you a better functional idea of what it's doing. I think the fact that we saw Allen make a big throw afterwards is certainly suggestive that there's not some big full thickness rupture of that ligament. And so far the reporting seems to be optimistic that this is at least a very mild irritation of that ligament. And hopefully he'll play this weekend. But beyond what we've sort of picked up in the reporting, it's impossible to just look at the mechanism and say he's going to be out 4 weeks, he's going to be out 6 weeks, or whatever. I think we just have to follow what the reports are. And nevertheless, hopefully this was helpful to look at some of the anatomy, talk about some of the mechanisms, the structures in that area, and some thoughts about diagnosing it.
And the best sign that Josh Allen is probably okay is the fact that he threw the freaking ball 80 yards downfield 2 plays after his elbow was yanked in the weird position. So if you could do that, you're probably all right. I hope that I'll be alive to see you tomorrow.